hate to say this, but there's a local radio station playing Christmas music already.
I heard that.
101.
Oh my gosh.
And I like Christmas music. What can I
Me
say?
too. I left it on for the dog when I came. I thought, well, you're
That
gonna
makes
have
you feel
a fest,
better.
yeah, you know.
So I'm right up there with your dog, so you
Yeah,
say.
it's so fun. Well, we're in a small club, I guess is what I'm saying. You, me, and Pippi.
Hey, Caleb, did you say we're ready?
He's good.
Okay. Good afternoon, folks. I'd like to open the meeting for the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust. It's Monday afternoon, November 20th already, and note I have my Christmas red on, so I'm getting ready. Our agenda calls us to states that we'll move into executive session first. I'm going to change that schedule around and move into executive at the end of our meeting, primarily because we have, I see Laura Schofield on the site. She's working with us on our proposed RFP, our draft RFP for the, I guess I can't call it Marceline property anyway, but I probably will because I don't change easily. We're checking on that. And she only has a half hour at the beginning, so I wanted to move her in first. We'll do that, then we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. Apparently she can't hear me right now. Laura, can you hear me? What do you think, Caleb? Was that her or us?
It says that she's currently muted. Try now to ask her a question.
Can you, Laura, can you hear us now? Sounds like someone's dying.
Good on her end.
Got it?
You can hear us?
Hear us now?
Good.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Don't you love Zoom or GoToMeeting, whatever it is?
Sorry.
Laura, thank you very much. I know you have a tight schedule, and so I'd like to open the meeting, you were listed as your business activity, but I'd like to start with you. And I know we toured the property last week, and you had some follow-up input based on that. Can I turn it to you and give us your update and your sense of how we move forward on the RFP?
Sure. And just to introduce myself, I'm Laura Schufelt, the Director of Community Assistance from Mass Housing Partnership. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, we had a nice walk around the property. It was a great day to do it. After the meeting, after the walkthrough, I had a meeting with the engineers. Angela Botto was there on the walk and looking at the property and then looking at the topo maps and conferring with other engineers at Bowler. We determined, which I think you already know, that the paper road there is a public road that's 22 feet actually on the map. So that has kind of some challenges, and split the two lots, it does prevent them from being adjoined by being in the same ownership. So for Title V purposes, they're two separate lots and would be considered separate for Title V, which means you could do a development on either side with different septic systems. So that was some of the opportunities. Some of the some of the challenges are going to be with access because there's only that one piece of access on 124 that's already got a curb cut. The southerly portion of the lots that kind of borders partially on Queen Anne Road, that one, the engineers thought you'd need to have a state DOT permit to access. And because of its proximity to the Route 6 exit may be difficult to get. That's, obviously down the road when we're looking at siting, but something to keep in mind, that the site the lot that seems to be more vegetated may be the more easily developable one, because you have access on Queen Anne Road. You could have two accesses because there's sufficient land. So moving forward, when we're doing conceptual site plans, we're just going to kind of look at both lots separately. I'm going to kind of stop there for questions in case I said a lot in a short period of time.
Laura, can you just, I want to make sure I understand we've lost you for a second.
No, she's still there.
Oh,
She's changed your appearance a lot, but I'll take your word for it.
It's just because she's not talking.
Okay. Laura, in terms of the access, you mentioned the one on 124 might give us some difficulties because it's nearness to 6A, or 6 rather, and Queen Anne.
Yeah.
Now, does the number, what's the difference between if we use it as one, basically look at it as one site versus two sites in terms of egress?
well, you would have to do an easement over that public way.
And that would allow us to add another, how would that influence any access?
So then if you were in the northerly portion with the access across from the park and ride on 124, you could then have kind of a long, but a long driveway down to Queen Anne. If you could get an easement across Bassett's Lane or whatever, I think it's called Bassett's Lane.
Any other, but since we own the property, I would think an easement wouldn't be that difficult, am I correct?
The easements across the land isn't difficult. It's an easement across the town road. It's a
Okay.
public way. I don't think it's impossible. I'm just throwing it out
You
there
have
as
to
a
go through
step
the
that you would have
zoning
to take.
and all that, okay. Other questions?
Laura, the terminus of the paper road runs from 124 to Oak Street, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So would that paper road allow us to exit onto Oak Street?
It's a long way, but yes. I
Okay.
think it's a public way that goes and it's, laid out at 22 feet. So it's certainly wide enough,
Okay,
but it would be, an expensive undertaking. It could be an emergency exit.
okay,
Could be used for that.
thank you.
Claudia?
Does the splitting it in two properties affect the number of units or anything in that regard that we're proposing or looking at?
Yes. Right now, we were looking at it as kind of one parcel, which would limit it to 90 bedrooms. As two, and I haven't looked into what water protection, there may be some overlay districts there that I haven't looked into yet. I'm waiting for the engineer's report, which I should get the first week of December within 2 weeks, to see whether there's anything else that would restrict how many bedrooms. By it being two lots, you could theoretically get 90 bedrooms on either side of the road. or both sides of the road.
Oh, okay. So it would potentially double,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
Because that's all the limiting
Potentially.
criteria is the wastewater, I assume.
Right, wastewater is the limiting factor, you know, in all of this, but especially when you're talking about how much you can get on a single lot.
Thanks.
Brendan?
Laura, just a quick question about the state DOT approval. We would need it for Queen Anne. What about entering another entrance on 124, or is that the same difference?
No, it would be 124, not on Queen Anne.
All right, that's what you
Queen
meant.
Anne would-
So Queen Anne, we can go on. Okay,
You can't go on Queen Anne, yeah.
Okay.
okay, gotcha.
It's 124. If you were looking for another exit, even an emergency exit, you'd need a DOT curb cut.
So that's only for Route 124?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, just a state route. Yeah. I think it would be a local permission for Queen Anne Road.
Okay. So Laura, moving forward, we'll have an engineering report in time for our next December 11th meeting, I guess, but
Yeah.
at that time, at what point do we have enough information to turn it over to developers, give us their best their ideas on how to move forward? In other words, issue an RFP asking for developers to respond.
Right. Issuing the RFP will be gathering after the due diligence report comes in. We are looking at doing a couple of conceptual site plans, so where you would access and potentially site buildings. Very conceptual, not anything developers have to follow, just what you're, kind of showing them the traffic flow, how it could work, how you would like it to see traffic flow and access.
Okay.
And potentially where buildings could go. That's pretty quick. The designers will have already been working on something like that, waiting for the input of the engineers. So that would be quick. And then it's just gathering the rest of the attachments, which you have. It's just a matter of gathering them. The limiting factors, then it goes to, I'm sure, your procurement officer and legal. The next step would be deciding when's the best time to release it. This is funding application season. So typically I advise communities to wait until after applications are the application deadline is, and it's a two-step process. There's a pre-application and then an application, because developers are just focused on getting their applications in, and you wouldn't get many respondents if you do it in this next couple of months. That being said, between the pre-application and the application, the application is due the last week of January. So February is probably the earliest that I would release it, mid-February, somewhere around there. But that gives you plenty of time to get all the attachments together, get it to procurement and get it to legal and get it back and be ready to release it.
Thank you, Laura. In terms of timeline, what I want to do is drive it forward so we complete our action. In other words, get an RFP to procurement, and then let those, let them work on when it's submitted. But backing up, we met on December to go through it one last time. You feel we could vote on our final RFP by the first meeting in January, and then turn it over to the procurement to move forward?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
That'll be our timeline then, just trying to set a timeline that we.
Yep,
I wanna
yep,
be
that
sure
sounds
with our
like,
hands we can move.
that would work nicely.
Okay. Does that work for everyone, that timeline, so we keep it? I like schedules, so we can make sure we meet these minor deadlines and get it going.
Yep,
Okay, we'll put that in our calendar, we'll back away from there. Laura, you've been so helpful, and thank Angela too, but not sure we could move this without all your help.
oh, well, you're welcome.
Before you go,
I
let
love to
me
see
ask
things
you,
moving forward.
before you go, let me ask you if there's anyone in the audience who would care while we have, I know you have a couple more minutes and you have another commitment, but,
Yep,
okay, we'll do that then. We'll move on. I think our only discussion specifically outside of you on the RFP is looking at attachment, the selection criteria, and we'll cover that next.
Yep.
Okay?
okay,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, same to you all.
Let's look at attachment A, because we did approve the narrative our last meeting on the RFP. Attachment A's are selection criteria. I looked at it again this weekend and again this morning. I'm pretty comfortable with it. Is there, Bob, you had a comment?
Nope.
Seems to me it's covered.
Yeah.
Same way, if not, we could vote to agree that that's our criteria and move ahead. It's about 3 pages, and I think it's on our, what I may do is ask that to be posted along with, separately, so everyone is aware of our, well, it'll be in our minutes anyway, and I'll be sure it's attached to our minutes separately from the draft RFP, so it's available. Any other comments on the RFP? I'm just anxious that we keep this going, and we'll move ahead.
We need a motion on that.
We need a motion on that, please.
So I make a motion to adopt the current version of attachment A to be used in the RFP.
Second?
Any other comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
No opposition then, so we'll move forward on that. Thank you. So that's, I'll start at the beginning then. I did want to catch Laura while she was here. And we will move the executive session then to the end of this meeting. We'll move from open into executive and do that. In public comment, I first want to start by introducing our new town planner who graciously agreed to attend our meeting today, and I hope we'll see you at all our meetings, by the way, not to put too much pressure on you, because you're a vital link to what we're talking about. Christine Flynn, do you wish to just give us a brief introduction of
Sure.
what your background and?
Absolutely. My name's Christine Flynn. I'm the new Director of Planning and Community Development for the town of Harwich. I'm very excited to be here. The town has a lot of great planning work going on for the local comprehensive plan, the open space and recreation plan, as well as the housing production plan, which I'm sure I'll be referring to this committee as well for a lot of input and engaging with the community as well. Just to let you know my background, I worked for the Martha's Vineyard. I come from Martha's Vineyard. I worked for the Martha's Vineyard Commission, which is a regional planning agency for the island, and providing planning support to all 6 towns on the island. And my background is economic development and affordable housing planning, so I'm very excited to be here. So thank you.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thank you. And as I said, we're moving to the executive session, which excuses everyone with the exception of O'Brien, of course, but, and Christine. So you pay a penalty already for being in town staff, but thanks again. Any other one here for public comment? Next on our new business is Jackie Edstein. She's our Cape Cod Commission member, and Jackie, if you wish to just say a few words. we're polite. You have to use the microphone, though. And I thank Jackie very much for attending our meeting. I said there was no pressure because I only, we've made a commitment as a housing trust to reach out to all the people involved with housing on the Cape, and we've had different organizations in to be sure we talked to everyone. And Jackie, you're a member of our Cape Cod Commission. I appreciate you coming here to give us a brief introduction of what you're about, and just to start the discussion. We want to be sure that we have all communications open as we move forward, with all groups. And so I'm not putting you under any microscope or, any request other than that. Just we open a dialogue on important members of our community.
And I'm afraid I don't have a lot of information for you because the last year or two, we have done almost entirely regulatory work, applications that have come because they've met the threshold requirements for Cape Cod Commission review. We have had, the last couple of years, 2 big housing developments. They're private. They're very much profit-making. One was very well designed off of Hathaway Road in the area of lots of shopping centres. It is not, however, affordable except for a small percentage of units that are required. It's pretty well designed, which is a relief. There isn't a great deal of open space, but what there is has been designed for activities, either passive sitting activities or recreational activities, one or another. So it's quite tightly designed on that site. The other development is called Twin Brooks, and it's in Hyannis off the West End Rotary. And at least as far as I'm concerned, is highly controversial development. The land is a golf course. It's been a golf course since the 40s. And so any comment I make now, I made in public session. Unfortunately, the plan just bulldozes all of the trees, about 500 of them on the site. And it's very high density with many, many apartment buildings in a parking lot. There's very little green space except on the periphery. So not the best development, in my opinion, anyway. It's right now under appeal, so I think it's stalled out for a while. The commission, the commission as a whole has an affordable housing group, and they have come up with a plan. We've not seen it in part of the commission. We haven't had any input into it, and I'm hunting for it on a website so I could give you the reference to it. When I find it,
That'd be nice if you'd like to see that, yes.
I will send it on to you, but I don't think it's been put on the overall website yet.
Okay.
It's fairly new, so it might be interesting to read it.
Yes, because we're all in the same dilemmas, how we get more housing and make it work in the neighborhoods.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and really the private development really is not providing very much. And I think one of the things that I've always been aware of from I worked in Barnstable for 25 years, is anytime you get a private development, you need to make sure the language that ensures affordability is really good and tight. Because we had some early 40Bs, and the developer just blew through the language. It just wasn't good enough legally, and the affordable tenants were sent somewhere else. So very important to make sure that you have a good lawyer who knows that issue. Laura probably has access to that sort of information, but have a lot of people look at it from every point of view. I don't know if Martha's Vineyard has had the same experience.
Yes, we have. We have learned through trial and error, if you will, in terms of the affordability restrictions. And so part of our work was really to make sure that any conditions on written decisions or any affordability restrictions were very clear and very tight.
Yes, yes.
So by abusing that, you're saying they were charged more rent than was allowed by the
yes.
percent AMI calculation?
Yes.
That's interesting.
and-
I would
and
think
you-
that'd be that difficult to figure out, but I suppose it is.
And I think we don't have any information on people who are living in these new developments in Hyannis. We don't know if it's providing housing for local people, even if it's more middle income. We don't know if it's units being bought from off Cape for people for summer use. And I think it would be very interesting to check that sort of information, because you need to be providing affordable housing for Cape Codders, Harwich people and Cape Cod people. And you don't want it getting into the rental market from off-Capers.
Yes, that's interesting. We'll have to check on that, because my understanding is the lottery has to be open to everyone with the, certainly those of small size. If you get large enough, then maybe I think you can put, Brianna's shaking her head, she'll know better, but maybe you can put a percent that has to be within a local region, but I'm not sure we have the capability of restricting it to local. We have to double check
And
that.
I think that's a very good question for Laura Schufelt. I mean, she has a lot of expertise in this area. But since you are doing the development yourselves, the town is doing the development, I think you have a lot more control than if you have a private development.
Well,
From
we'll check,
Georgia,
yeah.
as in one case.
I must admit, so far my information is opposite, that we don't have that choice, but we'll.
I'm sorry?
I say, so far my information's opposite of that we don't have a choice, that we have to follow the lottery, but we'll double check. Double check. with
Yes.
the expert.
Yes.
See, I'll point out, look at our expert now. Thank you for being here, Christine.
No, absolutely. I think, for any public funding of projects, towns are very careful to make sure that they're in compliance with affirmative fair housing, as well as any restrictions. If there's a local preference, I think that's allowed for projects. But I agree with Larry that, there are certain protocols that need to be followed.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Claudia?
I just had a question on the Hathaway. You talked about there's a certain percentage of affordable. Is that I just wasn't sure what town that was in, and if that's a zoning bylaw that's in place that has a certain requirement for new building or projects?
I assumed that after they had gone to the commission that they would have to go to the town. I'm assuming they're going through the 40B process, but I'm not sure of that. Because we had them first, and I don't know what the commitment was to the town.
Okay. I think that was something just that the committees talked about, Christine, just in terms of, is that something we can adopt at some point? Was something we worked on the Chatham Housing Committee, was this, zoning bylaw, so for any new development would have to have a certain percentage of affordable units, and if that's something that, we would endorse.
Okay. We can look into that, absolutely,
Okay.
in terms of what the standards are, and I'm happy to do that as well.
Great.
Then just one piece of input, housing types. And having looked at a lot of affordable housing over time, I think desirability of housing varies from area to area. If you're in New York City, you live in an apartment building. There's very little other alternative. But perhaps when you live on the Cape, you might shy away from apartment buildings. And so I would be wary of apartment buildings, especially for families, where you get long corridors, and all it needs is one person to make life living hell for everybody along that corridor. Though you can design in such a way that you can limit the length of those corridors. But I prefer to see townhouses used, because you can get a moderate density with them. They're like a ribbon. You can curve them around, fit them into the landscape, highly flexible. And if you really want to push the density more with townhouses, you can build 3-story townhouses, where the lower unit, I'm going to mix up the British description. The first floor is on the first floor, and then the second and third floors would be another unit on top. That's used in Boston, just off of Blue Hills Avenue, quite nicely. So you often have older people on that first floor, and then a family on the second or third floors, a single unit on top. They're a little more spry, so they don't mind going up the stairs. But everybody, that way, everybody has the dignity of their own front door. They're not sharing access ways. So that reduces potential problems, I think. Not as high a density, though,
Right,
apartment buildings.
good, thank you.
And
Good
that's
input.
all the wisdom I can impart today.
Well, we learned about the difference in how they number floors in England.
Oh, I know, and I've been involved in something in discussing
I went to a
floors.
great party one time, a company party, because I went to the wrong floor. They're very nice people. It took me several beers to figure out I was in the wrong place.
Yes, yes.
Bob?
A question. Jackie, I think that you are an essential contact person for us in terms of affordable housing. And my understanding is that the Cape Cod Commission is just on the verge of release of major work about affordable housing. I'm surprised that you're not able to bring us information about that. I don't understand what the closure of information is. Your executive director's name is
Christie,
Christie.
yes.
Yeah, Christie was at a public meeting at the end of October, talking very openly about the work that the commission has taken on and the exciting news about resources and access to information and participation and cooperation. That's the kind of energy that we need for you to bring to us locally.
It has
And
not been-
that's what I'm thinking is an essential part of your job.
Well, I don't control the agenda, however. And the only thing that the Cape Cod Commission, that is the commission that consists of representatives for each of these towns, the only thing they have seen on this affordable housing plan is they were shown part of a questionnaire that went around where there were photographs of different sorts of houses, and people were asked to say which sort of house they would like. It was shown to us after it had been publicized and after it had been completed. So we had no input into that process.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob.
Elizabeth, as the delegate for Harwich, does this make sense to you? Or is there something that can be modified that I think needs to be modified?
Hi, Elizabeth Harwich. The commissioners on the Cape Cod Commission do very different work than what the delegates and the commissioners do. They sign off on the, they're supposed to be consulted on any plans, and then they sign off on them, I believe. But the commission presents to us and gives us the plans and the studies when they're completed. That's how they did the 208 plan with the water. They talked to everybody, all the stakeholders that are concerned, and then they put together their study. According to Christie, we're going to have that by the end of November, early December. They started, it was supposed to be done a little earlier, but they started getting a lot more interesting information that was helping. So I don't know. I mean, I'm perfectly happy to bring you what information I have, and then Jackie can bring you whatever information she has, but they're not, we don't do the same thing.
I understand that very clearly. But my concern is that we have a representative to the Cape Cod Commission who sounds like she's blinded from the information about the work of the commission. That doesn't seem right to me. And as a delegate, is that something that you have any influence over?
Not really. They're very clearly defined jobs.
Who do you think we need to talk to about that?
I don't know. What do you want the answer to be? You know,
I want it to be,
the commissioners, as opposed to the county commissioners, have very specific jobs that they're supposed to do, which Jackie can certainly report to you about. But their job on the commission is different from other jobs. So there's not going to be one person in charge of giving you all the information from the Cape Cod Commission regarding their housing study and their housing plans. I know there is going to be a regional housing director, but how that's going to be set up, that's one of the things they're trying to figure out. So that might be the person. I don't know if that person is going to be overseen by the commission, or the commissioners, or county administration. I don't know. These are all the things they're working on right now to clarify. So I think once they have the study completed, then we'll know better about what information I'll provide you with and what information Jackie will provide you with. But
Okay,
it's not
that's,
going to be one person.
Yeah, that's,
Does that help?
No.
well.
It's not what you want.
It doesn't
but-
answer all the questions, but
Thank you.
I think we have commitment from both of you to bring us information as soon as you have it.
As
Yeah,
soon
of
as I
course.
get
And
it,
to Bob,
yes,
we'll,
yes.
at Bob's point, we
And
can
I
look at
would
directing towards
hope-
others.
I would hope the commission will see it before it's finalized.
Yeah,
Because it's a planning process, not just a housing process. Housing is a single issue, a complicated one, but it's a single issue. And you always need to be balancing. If you're planning, you need to be balancing many issues.
so
So,
we can get your input from you two, and then we can see if we can influence the commission about keeping us informed on the planning.
Yep.
We'll take it from there, see what we can do.
Thank you for being here.
Jackie, thank you very
sorry, I
much.
didn't have much information.
Oh, no, it's good discussion. And again, we hope to see you more. And please, keep us in mind too, if there's any input we might help
Sure.
and what you bring to the commission, let us know. We'll discuss it
All right.
and we want to be part of that. Okay, thank you.
I was asked a quick question, but Brianna just left maybe to confirm or talk about the local preference. It comes up quite a bit. The local preference on the first round of the lottery, from my reading with the state, is going to be up to 70% on the first round. And there's like 4 categories. The categories are current residents, municipality employees, employees of local businesses, households with children attending local schools. So those are the 4 categories, 70%. But I wanted Brianna to confirm that. And there's also a number, how many units? Is it
That
over
was my
12?
point I tried to raise, is the number of units too. So-
Right, it's the number of units. So I think Brianna has that information, maybe we can get it, but I think it may come up again, later on in our discussion, so.
Okay, good, thank you. Next on the agenda is Cindy Williams, Executive Director of Harwich Chamber of Commerce. Sometimes you get miserable excuses for people not being able to make it. She argues that she has no heat at home, so she thinks she should stay home to get heat. So I think we'll accept that, and she'll come up, we'll reschedule her when she's more comfortable at home. Moving on to, but in saying that, we did talk a few times, and she was anxious to give us her input from the chamber's perspective, and so
Thank you.
it's not for lack of desire, but she's waiting for a call back from the heating people, last I communicated with her. Moving on to old business, we approved our last meeting an application process for those requesting funds from the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I made a couple of tweaks based on those comments, and we posted on our, Jamie did, thank you, Caleb I'll speak to Caleb because he's here instead of Jamie, but it was posted on our website last week, the letter of intent. This morning, they posted also the application that we put on, and they posted the review process. And so that is now an example of what a pro forma would be. We decided last time not to try to put that into an example pro forma, but give them an actual pro forma, give them an example they could follow to put in financial information. So those are on the website, available then to everyone. So we do have a process to start with. as I mentioned last time, I'm sure we'll learn and improve those as we go ahead. But our concept our discussion as a trust, we did not want that process be a limiting factor for those who may be seeking funds that we might be able to help with. And so hopefully we've taken away that barrier. Any comments on that?
None.
The next item then is, very quickly, we did get one letter of intent from the Harwich Fire Association. I see we have Bruce Young here to speak to that. You might want to give us a brief update, but just remind everyone here and in the audience, the process is that we've asked for a letter of intent, which gives us a broad description of what their purpose is. And our vote today then is really quite simple. Our vote is to decide whether that letter of intent and their purpose merits our approval for them to go ahead and fill out the complete application form. So this is initial step. The hard work is yet to come,
Yes.
but we're not going to review all that in detail because that will come up as we move forward. But I just want to straight what we're not going to solve world hunger today, but this will be starting the process. And so, are there any comments or questions on what our intent is?
Do we need a motion to accept this?
After he gives a discussion, we'll do
Very
that,
good.
and we'll have a discussion, we'll do that. Thank you, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, member of the board, Bruce Young, I'm the president of the Harwich Fire Association. I did submit that letter of intent as a placeholder for moving forward for the application process, if that gets approved. We are still looking at putting 3 apartments on the second floor at 203 Bank Street. We have met with a lottery company, and we've also met with a management company. We're trying to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row going forward as well, and making sure that the Housing Trust is also above board and on making sure that their process going forward is good for us as well. So making sure that everything is good, because it's a new process for you and it's a new process for us. This is uncharted waters for us, so we're trying to make sure that everything's good going forward.
Okay? And I assume as part of that process, you're double checking some of our comments, and that is the lottery, what's needed, what's not needed. The deed restrictions, those other requirements may come up that I know we'll be checking on, but I'm hoping you're also,
We are looking into that
Doing
deed
your own,
restriction. We do have some questions on that
okay?
as well.
So you'll be prepared when you go, the next step, you'll be prepared, we'll
Yes.
have a good discussion on those
Yep.
issues that are concerned to both of us.
Yes.
Any other, Bob, Bob, you wanted to,
Yeah, Bruce, I had one question. At the bottom of the letter of intent, 2 apartments will be 80% AMI and 1 at market rate. We may make all 3 80 AMI as
Yeah, it should be
well.
70%. Right, is that-
No, 80 AMI is
80,
correct.
yes.
80 AMI for 2
But
or
the-
for 3? How's that going to get determined?
We have to go by the state Fair Housing Act and the regulatory requirements between the town or the trust, you guys giving us the money. So I think 80% is going to be probably the standard for all 3.
I don't think that's the question, though. I think the question is, do all 3 have to be affordable rather than 2? Because,
I believe they
So,
do.
yes.
So
wait a minute, answer that, to that me again. You think it's, from your information, we can have 2 affordable and 1 market rate?
no,
No,
Has to all 3 be affordable, right?
correct.
Yeah,
I
that
put,
was-
I
think,
put,
Bob,
I should have put
think-
that market rate in the bottom of that application because I wasn't sure.
Oh,
So there was a question of whether or not we could do 1
Okay.
market rate or not,
Bob,
but
that
I
was
don't
your
think we
question,
can.
right?
Can we strike that out
Yes.
on this letter? Okay, so we strike out from,
That takes away a barrier.
we may make all these 80%
Yeah,
as
so-
well?
Yes.
Thank you.
That was just, yeah, that was just a question that I had, that's
Yep.
all.
Well, that makes me feel better already,
Yes.
because I don't want an obstacle going forward that we can't,
Yes.
that we do that. Brendan, any comments, questions?
No questions, just really excited about the application. You're the first developer to come and ask for money. And to thank Larry about putting it all together for the application. Thank you very much. We at least have a process in place, and we're glad you can apply.
Thank you.
Claudia?
Ditto, very excited, happy to have this experience and try it out and hope it works smoothly.
And the timing is interesting because you're also putting this in as part of the CPC request as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If we were to get any money from the Housing Trust, we would deduct that from our
Deduct that from
application
CPC.
from CPC, yes.
Because just, everyone's not reading this, but the total ask for this is 850,000.
Yes.
And if we were to approve this, it'd be 450, so they'd be asking for 350 yet from the CPC, but it's,
Whatever you decided, if we.
and we decide less, whatever the difference is,
Yes.
we decide from that.
We would go forward with CPC.
Okay,
Larry, I have one more question.
sure, Bob.
The cost per square foot,
Mhm.
this 850 is, what's the cost per square foot of development?
It's a unique project because we already have the structure there, so I think it's, just by math, I believe it was like $220 a square foot, and that's not an appropriate number, I apologize.
That's just for the units?
That's for the 3 units, some infrastructure for the units, and there's a little general like fire blocking, and, you know, we added a sprinkler system, so there's some things like that that were included.
Okay, thank you.
And these are based on estimates that we gathered through the CPC application process.
Okay. Well, as being fireman, you have to have happy sprinkler systems.
It'd be pretty embarrassing if we didn't do that.
It'd be real embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to pick on you, Pastor.
Advocating for residential sprinkler systems, and we don't put it in our own place.
It would be a tough sell, yes. Yeah, someone would pick that up, I'm sure.
Yes.
Joe and Bruce, what's your timeline then? When would you think that you might come back with a full application? I hate to be set on timelines today, but
I'd like to have an application ready by December 11th.
for next
That's
month,
your
okay.
next month.
Great.
Okay. Well, we'll tentatively put that on the agenda. I'm looking at Brianna's work on the agenda together. We'll tentatively put that on. And if you can't, just let us know, and we'll put it on in January. But
Okay,
I
would you like that application prior to that meeting
We would.
for review?
I need it at least 2 days before the meeting
Okay.
to give a chance so I can send it around. At the same time, I post the agenda to give us a chance to look at it ahead of time.
Okay.
Richard?
Have you finalized, I don't see the I'm sorry.
Tell us who you are.
Mr. Chairman, Richard Waystack of Harwich. I don't see the application on the website as of yet on the Affordable Housing Trust site.
If it's not, it'll be there because
So it is approved and
It
it is
is.
available to be filled out?
it is.
Okay. If they
I
could
talked
get
I
a
talked to
copy.
Jamie this morning and I missed that. She was gonna post it this morning, so it's not there. It'll be there shortly.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's there. It's the second one down on the, yep. They're not together. They're, the letter of intent is lower, but it's the second one down.
Joe, go ahead.
Sorry, to go back to the square foot pricing, it's roughly, this is approximate $284 a square foot. And to help out understanding, it also included like the common space, common hallway, common electrical, common lighting.
And you're also putting in some sweat equity, so that number's gonna be lower. So,
Yes.
That's correct.
it's 280's low, that's why. I get it.
Well, I think in a previous meeting, I think I rough estimated it at 300 a square foot
Yeah,
based on that.
yeah.
So,
Good, my
but it's
math is
close, but it's
close.
close.
It's coming down, that's good.
Yeah.
So 280 plus Bruce, got
Yeah,
it.
280 plus Bruce and Norm.
So it's really like 500, right, before they take you out?
Anything we can do to save some money.
Keep them healthy.
Okay,
It's so
well,
hard.
anyone from the audience care to comment on? Richard, did you find it?
No, I don't, Brendan can show me.
Brendan will show
Yeah,
you.
it's on the website. Well, that's where I'm pulling it from right now.
I don't, but again, you can show me afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll figure that out afterwards, Richard.
I think it's an exciting time for the Harwich Fire Association. I think it's an exciting time for the Housing Trust as well. And
It is. We'll get something moving. We'll get
Yeah.
some housing out there as soon as we can.
and from us, we'd like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Same to you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Well,
Here.
With that, Bob, you care to make a motion now?
I make a motion to accept the letter of intent from the Harwich Fire Association.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? Christine, before we vote, do you have comments on this? We're kind of dumped into the middle of this.
Welcome.
What I'll do, Christine, is I'll email you, catch you up on, I know you got a lot to read in town, but I'll email you some of this stuff so you have it.
That'd be great. If is this the project at 103 Bank Street? off of-
203.
203,
Go
I'm
through
sorry.
Bank Street, yes.
I was out at the property the other day. It's a great project and a great collaborative effort, I think, and a great reutilization of a building, so.
I'll try not to bury you with some stuff going on, but I will do that.
Okay, great.
I'm just looking for other opportunities to embarrass you, right? I'll ask you a question.
Yeah, that's fine. Fair game.
Fair game, right? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. We've already covered C, and our next meeting date, I put that on because I was unsure moving into December, but I think we're fine with December 11th. Does that work for everyone?
Should be okay.
And I did get an email from Jen Golston this morning. She can make the 11th.
Great.
So hopefully we can finalize the action plan. And I'm also informed that that ends her contract with the town. She had one more meeting to attend, and so that will end her involvement, but we're almost done. What it does put some limits on is that we talked last meeting about meeting jointly with the select board to give them an update, and the suggestion was made it'd be good to have Jen here as backup. I'm suggesting we do that on our own, because if we don't, we're going to have to negotiate another contract extension for her to make that. And I think we can go ahead and give them an update of all we're doing and be fine with that. Because it's an ongoing process. We can let them know, as we did with CPC and Brendan, let them know where we stand on the action plan, the RFP, and so on. So if that's okay, we'll put Jen on the agenda for next meeting.
Perfect.
I keep pointing at Sabrina. And so we have two items on the agenda for next week for sure then, or we hope the Harwich Fire Association and Jen. And so with that, what I wish to do is to, Bob, do you have comments while you see you come in?
I do not have anything.
Okay. What I'd like to do now is I'd like a motion to move into executive session so we can discuss some land, property issues. And
So moved.
is there, the motion is move into executive session. We will return, and we'll end the meeting at that. We will not return to open session.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. And thank you all for attending, and we will, we'll move into executive session. Sure.
Okay, nice to meet you.
There's a draft RFP.